All right, everyone, it is 11:03 and it looks like some of the activity in the waiting room has slowed down a little bit, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to today's informational call about Reno's proposed stormwater utility. My name is Christine Callagher. I'm the Director of Member Engagement at the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce, and it's my pleasure to help facilitate and moderate today's call. Now, again, the mission of the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce is to advocate, inform, and connect. And often this mission will manifest itself in raising awareness regarding local policies that could affect businesses and organizations financially, as well as community issues that require our focus and attention. Now, I think we can both agree that today's call definitely checks both of those boxes, as we're going to hear about a proposed stormwater fee that the City of Reno is considering in order to finance flood mitigation and improvements to aging infrastructure. Now, I want to make it clear that the Chamber is not taking a position on this issue today, but our role, we really believe that our role is to open up community dialogue and provide a space for you to ask your questions or voice your concerns today. So the way the call is going to go is we're going to have a 20-minute presentation on the stormwater utility proposal from Carrie Lanza, who is the engineering manager for the City of Reno. And what she'll do is provide us with some background information and walk us through the stormwater utility proposal. And then after that, we'll go ahead and transition into a time of open dialogue. And so during that time, you are invited to unmute yourself and ask any questions or make any comments that you have. But you also, if you would be more comfortable doing so, you're welcome to use the chat function in order to address any concerns that you have or pose any questions. And I will do my best to catch as many of those questions and concerns and comments as possible and address them during that discussion period of time. I also want to note that we are recording this call. Please keep that in mind, but we'll be posting it to YouTube later today, so that you're able to watch it on demand if you need to rewatch a portion of the presentation, or you can pass it along to others who you think might benefit from seeing this discussion. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen and invite Carrie Lanza to provide her presentation. Go ahead, Carrie.
All right, and good morning and thank you. And let me pull this up and I'll make introductions. All right, and thank you. And Christine, could you confirm for me verbally that you're seeing the title page for me?
Absolutely, it looks fantastic.
Okay, very good, and thank you. All right, and good morning, and thank you so much for this opportunity to introduce the city's proposed stormwater utility to you through the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce. Again, I'm Carrie Lanza, the engineering manager with the city's newly created utility service department. At the end of this call today, I'll also introduce Trina Magoon. She's our department's director, and she'll help me with the Q&A portion of this presentation. As Christine said, I prepared about 15 or 20 minutes of presentation to introduce you to this potential City of Reno stormwater utility. I'll try to keep this brief and most pertinent to this audience, but at the same time, I want to let you know about potential new fees to support flood reduction and stormwater quality projects, including the next steps in this process toward potential implementation, and how to stay engaged and provide input. All right, we start with introducing 4 types of municipal water. First of all, there's drinking water. This is piped into your home or business. And regionally, the drinking water is managed by purveyors such as Tumwa. There are 3 types of water that the City of Reno is involved in, and we manage stormwater, which we'll talk about a little bit more, but that's typically the runoff from rain or snow that is collected and conveyed in flood control facilities, such as storm drains and culverts, and then allows that water to flow safely untreated to our local water bodies. There's wastewater, and this is used water from sinks, showers, and toilets, and this is conveyed in a separate sewer system of pipes, and this is treated water at our reclamation facilities. And finally, there's recycled water, and this is effluent water or reuse water, and this is highly treated wastewater, and it's repurposed for irrigation of parks and golf courses. All right, and again, diving into stormwater is typically rain or melted snow that does not soak into the ground. In urban areas, stormwater flows over rooftops, driveways, streets, and parking lots, and it flows again untreated into the city's drainage system, and usually at a discharge point such as the Truckee River. Stormwater does not soak into the ground and become surface runoff. Drainage systems and sewer systems are separate systems in our area. And as you can see from this depiction, almost every property contributes runoff to the stormwater system. In addition to providing flood reduction, properly functioning stormwater conveyance and pretreatment systems can reduce flooding and keep the Truckee River and our other natural systems healthy. So what is a stormwater utility? Again, the city is proposing to create a new stormwater utility. If it's adopted by the city council, this will collect a new fee from customers to reduce flooding and improve water quality throughout the city. The city's proposed stormwater fee is based on the demand each property places on a stormwater system. That demand on the system is calculated typically by a term we call impervious surface, and that's the hard surface an area has that causes water to run off of a property. Stormwater fees are common throughout the United States and exist in several municipalities in northern Nevada, such as Carson City, City of Sparks, parts of Washoe County, and then southern Nevada has many. All right. And so why are we considering a stormwater utility? A stormwater utility would provide a dedicated funding source for engineering and construction for recurring and new known problem areas, cleaning and maintenance of storm drains and culverts, rehabilitation of aging infrastructure. We need to address the increased frequency and or intensity of storms. And then this fund would also allow for full compliance with state and federal environmental regulatory requirements. We'd like to emphasize that this does not include construction for new infrastructure associated with land development projects. Development pays for development, and this fund is to fix and improve existing and new systems. A little about how we currently fund stormwater projects. And so the city currently funds its stormwater program from the sewer fund. And as I'll show you later, property sewer bill does not have much to do with the quantity of stormwater runoff a property produces. This current level of funding provides about $3.50 from every residential sewer bill. Again, we can, with this funding amount, we can do about $2 million per year for drainage improvement projects. At this funding level, we can only really accomplish maintenance and operations, environmental compliance, and some minor improvements. The known larger projects will never be accomplished with this current system. All right, this next slide, this depicts planned capital improvement projects that would respond to recurring flood damages, complaints, and nuisances experienced citywide, not just one area. These are the areas the stormwater utility would address. Collectively, these dots represent about $400 million in needed projects. From the existing funding scenario I presented in the prior slide, we currently generate about $105 million from the sewer fund over 20 years. But that amount also supports maintenance and operations and will not improve or construct systems. We have a large known catalog of problem areas and recurring flooding examples. I will run through a few examples next. So this is a flood of 2017, and this is Aquila at Thomas Jefferson. You can see quite a bit of water running down this roadway, as well as just the mess and the inability to travel up these streets, not even to mention what these homeowners are thinking may happen to their property. Here is another picture in the same vicinity, and this is also Aquila at Sagittarius. I believe this was ditch breach, 2017, but this occurs frequently. And the benefits of a stormwater utility would provide flood reduction and prevent flooding. And of course, this is a lot of fast moving water running through this system. So this impedes travel, and certainly creates a lot of damage. and just how damaging these events are. You can see exposed utilities, maybe some electrical in here. You know, if you're a car and you're driving through the water and you perhaps, you know, you're not going to see this under the water, and this could be a disaster for a traveling public. Also, it's something that we have to fix, and we do spend money doing this type of thing, you know, on a recurrent basis throughout the city. So the benefits of a stormwater utility in this slide would be to prevent or fix damage. These pictures depict land loss and water quality concern at Chalk Creek, major erosion and eventually damaging loss of private property. Without a fix, the Truckee River receives this mud and sediment. The benefits here of the stormwater utility would provide for erosion control stabilization, prevent land loss or property loss, and provide water quality benefits. This is going back to the 2005 event, and this is in the Stead area. And of course, the benefits of a stormwater utility in this depiction would be economic and also traveling and our ability to get to our jobs. Again, Stead area, if this is a warehouse and it has a lot of inventory in there, it's damaged or destroyed. And this is someone, I'm assuming they're going to work, but they're stuck, they're stalled out, and the benefits here are transportation and safety. This is the Truckee River at a bank full stage in 2017. We did not flood in the downtown. We had very intensive protection with sufficient warning of storm and river predictions coming through the area, and a very intense public works response to sandbag and protect this area. We also work with the Truckee River Flood Project as active partners in planning Truckee River flood reduction projects, but their plan does not provide for fixes citywide, and their financial plan does not include any provision of major downtown elements in the near future for the next 10 years or so. Typically, after a big event, there's a lot of cleanup. You can see a lot of mud. There is a water line up against this wall of this building on Edison Way. And the benefits of a stormwater utility here are to prevent recurring flooding and cleanup. And in this picture, I'm depicting a project that we did in the 2018 timeframe. And this is what we can do for our community. We want to construct systems that can accept and transport stormwater safely. As one of the city's priority areas, the $6 million project at 4th and Stoker was necessary to address repeated flood damage and cleanup, and was pieced together with several funding sources, which we will continue to pursue other funding opportunities to maximize the utility and keep any new fees as low as possible. This was constructed in 2019, and it was $6 million. We had NDOT funding and some environmental funds, as well as some of the sewer fund used for this. All right, now I want to get into how rates are calculated. And we start with the concept of an equivalent residential unit or typical resident size. The blue shaded areas are roofs and driveways. These impervious areas these impervious areas create runoff that does not soak into the ground and placing a demand on the drainage infrastructure. One equivalent residential unit is approximately 3,500 square feet of impervious surface in our area. A majority of single family homes in our area will fit into this category. And as we've been discussing, the most common method of measurement for the stormwater fees is the impervious surface area. Again, I'm getting into a little bit of the meat here. The residential stormwater utility fees that we're conjuring are estimated between $8.50 and $10.50 per month. Because we've been using the sewer fee the sewer fund to partially fund flood reduction projects, we're looking to potentially reduce the sewer bill by about $3.50. There may be homes that have significantly more impervious area or significantly less impervious area, and we're considering potential tiers for those. We are hoping to come up with a potential payment assistance program for low or fixed income residences. And with a potential reduction in the sewer fee of $3.50, the total new fee for a typical single family home would be between $5 and $7 increase per month. Stormwater utilities, as I mentioned before, are a standard practice with over 1,600 stormwater utilities across the US and locally within the city of Sparks, Carson City, and portions of Washoe County. In Washoe County, we wanted to show you what they're currently charging is $9.31 in a limited portion of Washoe County. Our regions would not be duplicative with any Washoe County residents. Their sewer fee is $40.24. The city of Sparks charges both a river and a drain fee that totals about $14.59, and their sewer fees are $25.65. Carson City, $8.79, and their sewer user fee is about $48.06 a month. And again, we're looking at $8.50 to $10.50 with a $3.50 reduction actually equals that $5 to $7. And our sewer fees are about $50 a month. This is a non-residential example, and talk to you a little bit about how larger properties that are not family properties would be calculated. So this example is of the Reno Police Department in downtown Reno. This is on 2nd Street, and it depicts the equivalent of approximately 26 residential, we call them equivalent residential units. So the shaded area depicts 26 homes. Sorry about that. Okay, non-residential properties include businesses, industries, public facilities, places of worship, schools, and airports. This is a fee, not a tax. It applies regardless of taxable status. For a non-residential property, the fees will be based on the number of equivalent residential units. I'll start using the term ERU of that area. Our current development code requires non-residential properties to implement stormwater quality and quantity improvements to mitigate their impact on the stormwater system. The city is looking at a crediting program with a potential reduction in fees between 30 and 50% for non-residential properties that can demonstrate they provide the required improvements such as detention basins, low impact development, and stormwater quality basins. And now these are some local examples of monthly stormwater utility fees for non-residential properties. And these are calculated without any provision for crediting. So, and maybe higher than what is ultimately adopted. From this, you can see how some large non-residential properties contribute a significant amount of runoff from impervious surfaces, but do not have a significant sewer fee. Sierra, the target at the south end of town, it has approximately 1 million square feet of impervious areas. That's approximately 286 residential homes. Their sewer fee is just $650 per month. They're looking at a stormwater utility fee according to these rates of between $2,500 and $3,000 per month. Renown has a much larger sewer user fee and has a comparable amount of impervious area. So they have about 1 million as well. And they're also looking at about $2,500 to $3,100 per month. Moving on, a few more examples. So looking here, a school, they are not exempt. We're looking at about $73,200 for Our Lady of the Snows church and school. That's about 21 residential properties. They have a sewer bill of about 182 per month, but are looking at about 180 to 220 per month rounded. Again, these amounts that I'm showing today do not have the 20 to 50% crediting that we are conjuring. All right, and with that, I'm coming to a close with this presentation portion, and I've tried to demonstrate our why we are considering this potential stormwater utility, and just briefly how the current system of collecting minor funding from the sewer fund is insufficient to deal with Reno's flood and drainage challenges. Stormwater utilities are a standard practice and have been shown to be more equitable. And again, our community's sewer fund is for the sewer system, conveyance and treatment of sewage, and that does not relate to the stormwater system since these systems are separate. So we hope to take care of what we have. If we don't, it will get worse. We do not have a funding source to remedy, repair, replace, or improve drainage infrastructure. closing with a well-funded stormwater program can reduce flooding and improve water quality. All right. At this point, a portion of our audiences typically express how glad they are to hear about fixes that are being planned and can reduce damages they've experienced. On another hand, you've heard a new fee is being considered. In any case, we wanted to get you this information and let you know where we are in this process. So where we've been in the shaded gray, our financial consultant completed the stormwater feasibility in 2019. The City Council then authorized the implementation phase. Our consultant provides citywide GIS and photo imagery analysis and calculated the range of fees required to accomplish the stormwater program in total. With that information, we are now in the public outreach phase of the project and providing more opportunities for obtaining input from the public. The business impact process and council deliberations we expect would occur late fall of this year and into early 2023. Any potential first bill would be a line item on the sewer bill as a stormwater utility fee, and we wouldn't anticipate that before July 1st of 2023. This schedule has changed since some of our fall presentations into last year, as we have allowing more time for the public input process. All right, I just want to leave you before we turn over to Q&A. Our contact information, we have a website. We're at reno.gov/stormwater utility. I'm Carrie Lanza, lanza@reno.gov. I've left our Reno Direct number here for you. And also, if with pen and paper, we have another number that directly contacts our utility services department. That is 775-334-4230. And with that, I'm coming to a close, but I'm so happy to have had this opportunity to inform you about this potential stormwater utility, and I'm willing to take questions. And thank you.
All right, Carrie, thank you so much. This was a great start, a jump start to our discussion here today. And I'm sure people are still formulating and absorbing all of the information they just received and are forming up their questions. So again, folks, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question, or you can always send it to either me directly in chat, or you can send it to everyone in chat, and we'll field your questions and comments that way. But I will go ahead and kick us off. I'm curious, and apologies if you had already covered this in your presentation, but is there going to be any kind of consideration in fee assessment for residents or businesses who may not be in a flood prone area? Perhaps they're not in a floodplain, in what's considered a floodplain within city limits. Is there going to be any kind of fee reduction or restructuring based on those considerations?
And I think I'll take that one, and maybe handing over to Trina if she has any more to add, but you know, probably not. And some of the pictures that we showed you today actually show that everybody will benefit from having a stormwater utility or from having flood reduction features employed. So when whether you're getting to work, you know, you benefit from the flood projects, and we're really not looking to just fund any particular one area. We are looking to go regional with this.
Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning. I would add to that the concept of how the stormwater utility is built is that every single property contributes to the stormwater system. Therefore, that's how we're calculating the overall rate for each single family residential unit and the amount of impervious surface that does contribute to the systems. Therefore, it somewhat does not matter if you're in a floodplain or not. And again, as Carrie mentioned, that the projects are citywide and not located. You know, we can talk a little bit about the previous Truckee River flood control project that really just did focus on the Truckee River and flooding from the Truckee River. This program is really built around solving issues citywide.
All right, thank you so much, Trina, for clarifying, and Carrie as well. We've got a couple questions in chat, and then I will go ahead and open it up to the larger group. The first question is, you know, if this stormwater utility is approved, where would we start to see initial improvements?
Well, and so that's very important in setting up a stormwater utility, is that we actually have projects that the public is seeing the moment that they are being charged for that. So, you know, the city council has a role in prioritizing the projects and the the recurring flooding issues. But according to that, we really want to have projects out on the street when the funding is incurred.
I will add to that we do have a capital improvement program, again, identifying this, $400 million worth of program that we need over the next 20 years. We have an initial prioritization of those projects. However, we also have a consultant on board right now that is looking at, if you will, looking at all of them and reprioritizing those. Again, we will bring those to council for consideration. So we don't, at this point, have a number one project that you're going to see day one, but we do have a full program of projects that we would hope to implement based on risk and need and consequences.
All right, thank you so much. Now, the next question from chat that I'm seeing refers to the process of creating potential tiers for this fee structure. Now, this particular question is in regard to, whether or not residences that are fewer than 3,500 square feet of impervious area, if they're going to be assessed at if there's a chance they could be assessed at a lower rate and assessed accordingly because of having less of a surface area.
Yes, and thank you, Christine. So that project, I think the question was towards the tiers that we talked about for single family residential, in which case we are looking at potentially a statistically much smaller type of home than 3,500 square feet of impervious area. We're looking at about $5 per month. That may not have the $3.50 commensurate sewer fund reduction on the other end. And then I think the other one was somewhere around $12 or $14.
All right, thank you for clarifying that. And just one final question from chat, and then we'll go ahead and invite the group to unmute. This question is asking about jurisdictional powers. I know that you mentioned that we wouldn't have any overlap. For instance, someone wouldn't be assessed for a fee if they were within City of Reno limits and simultaneously be assessed for a Washoe County fee. Is that correct?
That is our intention, yes. Whereas the Washoe County portion is really just a northern portion where the City of Reno doesn't have a sphere of influence there.
Absolutely.
So,
and so this person's question is basically asking, why the City of Reno might be potentially better positioned or differently positioned to handle floodwater mitigation than the county.
Help me with that one. Certainly we're looking to, help our residences, help our public infrastructure within the City of Reno limits and sphere of influence.
Absolutely. All right, we'll go ahead and open it up to the group now. If you would like to, if you feel comfortable, feel free to unmute and ask any questions that you would like. All right, Mark, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Is this only for the City of Reno? Hello?
I think the question is this only for the City of Reno?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So we're not, our limits are not within the City of Sparks or Washoe County or only that sphere of influence.
That answers a question because you guys sent us an email to get on this thing and we're in Sparks. So that will take care of a lot of questions for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mark. Any other
Bob Listener, if I may. We're on the North Valleys where city and county properties drain into lakes that are owned by one or the other. How are you going to coordinate with the county so that that one doesn't take advantage of the other or vice versa?
Hi, Bob, Karina here. So again, I think I'm trying to understand how to separate your question. We will be assessing City of Reno residents, but not Washoe County residents that do drain to the lakes. The lakes, at least Lemon Lake, is primarily in Washoe County, not the City of Reno. However, we have improvements in the upper watershed that this fee would address. Does that help answer your question?
It does, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question and concern. This is Bob Erickson. I'm concerned that we're setting up a whole new bureaucracy of sorts, and I don't use that as a pejorative term, but it sounds like there's going to be a lot more administrative overhead that's going to add to costs. So I'd like you to address that. Is this all going to be handled within the sewer administration, so to speak, or is a whole new department being set up? So that's one part of the question. The other part of the question is, how much money are you intending to raise in the first year?
I'll answer that first part. We are not setting up a new system or a new department or anything like that. We're using our existing staffing, our existing finance department and billing structure. We're using the exact same actual sewer bill, and it would just be another line item on that sewer bill. So we really are mitigating any kind of increase in staffing. We do have some increase in staffing so that we can accomplish the capital improvement program projects, so that we can get them designed and out the door and constructed. And then we do have I think one added full-time staff person in finance to assist with the GIS review, tracking, and billing. So it's really, from a staffing standpoint or administrative standpoint, it's not a very large part of the program at all. It's actually very small. What we're really trying to accomplish are these large dollar construction projects and get these areas that have repeated flooding, have them fixed. The second part of your question, we have kind of a varying in our financial model. It's pretty complex. We have a number of different alternatives in our financial model of what we will bring to City Council for their consideration. On average, Carrie, I believe it's about $15 million per year in funding. A couple of the scenarios that we've looked at do have bonding scenarios, so that we would essentially go through a number of years of design, and then we would put out some of the larger projects so that we can fund those. And basically, this is just going to look at overarching, what do we need to accomplish the program, and financially, how do we make that happen? Does that help out answer your question, Mr. Erickson?
Yeah, somewhat, but it creates a follow-up question of how was this being accomplished in the past 50 years or so, whatever the appropriate time frame would be. It seems like it's been reasonably successful. I would imagine there's always going to be some level of flooding, unless you're going to guarantee all flooding is going to be eliminated. And in the back of my mind, I'm concerned that in part this is funding things like the settlement that occurred out at Lemon Valley and the lake there, and maybe you could address those questions.
Sure. This is not, that settlement is in the past tense, so this is not funding those types of situations. But it's a great question because essentially, as Carrie mentioned before, development pays for development. So much of this infrastructure that we have in our city currently was put in place, anywhere between 100, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 70 years ago, 100 years ago, with no provision for rehabilitation or replacement of any of that infrastructure. So they put it in the ground and we walked away and we just sort of ignored it. Now we do maintenance. What we do accomplish right now is our required maintenance and operations that keep us in compliance with NDEP and keep things from flooding, quite honestly. When we do have rain events come, we have staff out there cleaning out ditches and making sure that our known areas are as cleaned out as best as we can beforehand. But we also have a stack of reports that have been done over the last 30 plus years that have identified these recurrent flooding problem areas, and we have no method of funding those. So while you mentioned that how have we been doing this in the past, We just haven't. And these problems aren't going to go away, and they will continue to deteriorate. As I'm sure you've heard before, if we're looking at infrastructure, the further you let it deteriorate, the more it's going to cost to repair, rehabilitate, or replace that infrastructure. So what we're really looking at doing now is setting up a program where we can begin to address some of these known problems that we've had for 30 plus years.
Thank you.
Right.
I could ask more questions, but I'll let somebody else ask.
All right. Along the same theme of funding, there is a question that is being asked about the potential for CARES Act or American Rescue Plan funds being made available for infrastructure improvements. Are there any plans to leverage any of those dollars for these potential projects?
So we are always looking for grant funding. We did receive one of the projects that Carrie touched on today. We did receive a grant for Chalk Creek. And we are constantly looking for grant opportunities. The CARES Act, it doesn't look as though we will receive any funding through the CARES Act for drainage and flood control improvements. They're really focusing on affordable housing with that funding. The IIJA, the Infrastructure and Jobs Act, if there's an opportunity, we will certainly go after that. A lot of that funding is targeted for disadvantaged communities. So we are, let me just rephrase that, we're always looking for grant opportunities. A lot of times the requirements behind those grant opportunities do not fit for a particular type of project, but if it does, we seek out those grants, absolutely.
All right, thank you so much. And I realize this question might be a bit of a hypothetical and difficult to answer right now, but I'm just curious what we know of current commercial properties that exist in the city of Reno that, house a lot of our small businesses potentially. What do we know about current existing properties and their fitness or their readiness or their ability to qualify for the crediting program that you're speaking about, for that 30 to 50% fee reduction? Do you think that it's a high percentage of properties in the area that would qualify for that fee reduction? Or do you think it's a smaller number of properties that would qualify for that potential fee reduction?
I think that's going to be varied across the, and Carrie, I'll let you, sorry, didn't mean to jump ahead of you. If you want to go ahead, you can start.
I'm sure we have the same answer. Go ahead.
I think it varies across different properties, the age of those properties, some of the storm drain and water quality infrastructure that may or may not have been developed with those properties. The idea of the program for crediting will be that it's on the onus of the property owner to provide documentation that they have mitigated their increase in imperviousness. And those are typically through subsurface detention, retention, or surface detention, retention. So the fitness, the city is not, we don't have, again, from the administrative level, we don't have the staffing to run down every single property in the city to determine whether they would be eligible for the credit. So we're really looking at those properties to provide the city, and this isn't, we don't have all of the pieces of this program yet, and this is what we're seeking input on. But we would require that they provide the documentation that we would then be able to use to provide that crediting for each property.
And Christine, I would like to add, in case there was a misunderstanding through that question, our typical residential property is a flat fee with a reduction on the sewer bill as being contemplated. The crediting program, as we're conjured it, applies to the non-residential. So just wanted to make that a bit more clear. Right,
absolutely. And that was the heart of my question, thinking of small businesses or businesses that are located on a commercial property in the city, what might if we were to guess, what percentage of properties, existing properties in the city would potentially qualify for the crediting program?
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I don't think I have an answer for you on that.
Not a problem. We're in the process of discovery all the way around. So, this is absolutely an ongoing discussion. It looks like we have a hand raised. Randall, please go ahead.
Yeah, hi gang. I just wanted to come on and voice my support. I think Ms. Lanza, Ms. Magoon did a great presentation. As a resident of Reno and a small business owner, my wife is an attorney in Reno. I know, sometimes fees are not great things to contemplate when you're looking at your bills and your budget, but I think the numbers that were presented here today are very reasonable. And I think it's about time that we develop this program. It's been past due. I have firsthand experience as an engineer in town, that these things are vastly needed. So, I would just voice my support for the group, and I think they do a great job. They have a really tough job to do. So I just really appreciate them being here and explaining it, and I think they're doing a great job.
All right. Thank you very much, Randall, for sharing your thoughts. Much appreciated. It looks like we have another quick question from chat, which says, where can we learn more about proposed capital improvement projects?
Sure. So we have a website, www.reno.gov/stormwater utility. We're currently in the process of updating that website, but it will have the capital improvement program map that Carrie presented in her presentation today. And then Carrie, do we have the actual list of CIP projects on the website as well?
I'd say we could add that together with the schedule updates.
Yeah. I think we intend on having those on there. So a quick and easy way to understand what those projects are. Well, I'm not sure if it's quick and easy. We understand what those projects are. If there are questions about projects in particular, please reach out to either Carrie or myself, and we can give you some more information on those.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you availing those pieces of information to us. I'm sure there are many people who are curious to know where those target areas would be and what those improvements could look like. Looks like we have another hand raised. Thomas, please go ahead.
Yes, good morning to everyone. What is the annual estimated revenue that you expect to get from this fee?
Again, it's about, Carrie, 15 million per year. And then there were, we have a number of different financial models, and the one that we've been focusing the most attention on, I believe it's about 15 million a year with 2 bonding events.
All right, thank you so much. And that is quite an improvement on the current level of funding at your disposal. So thank you for sharing that preliminary figure. All right, we've got another hand. Carolyn, please go ahead.
Hi, I'm sorry I joined late. If I'm understanding it, you're looking at a period of time to collect this annual revenue, add bonds to do the eventual construction of the projects. Is that the game plan?
No, what we're looking at is collecting revenue. Again, we have a number of different financial models that we will bring to council for their consideration. But we're looking at collecting revenue, spending revenue on the smaller projects for design and construction, and then bonding for some of the larger construction projects.
Okay. Would you guys be receptive to a conversation as to discuss an option that would be alternative to bonding?
Absolutely. And we do have an alternative for consideration to council that does not include bonding, but it does raise the equivalent residential unit fee per month.
Okay. Well, Trina, maybe I could reach out to you and give you some information on this alternative that might be attractive.
Absolutely. That would be great. Thanks, Lena.
All right, and as a quick follow-up to that question, are there any plans for the stormwater utility to sunset at any point, or is this a fee that will continue in perpetuity?
That's a great question. We do have, our 20-year CIP identified. As we move forward in time, I anticipate that there will be additional projects that arise that we need to incorporate into our program. As well, we're anticipating additional environmental requirements that will cost more money. But the idea of the stormwater utility fee is not to amass any amount of money. It is to fix problems. And we do intend on reevaluating every 2 years where we are with our CIP to understand whether we're on track with our rates. If we get through things sooner, we can look at a rate reduction. As most of you are probably keenly aware, we are in a period of increasing costs. So, we will have to evaluate those things. So as inflation grows, we may need to increase it. If we end up, in a flatter spot, we may be able to recover from that.
All right, thank you so much. Now we do have a little bit of time left on the clock. Are there any other outstanding questions or comments that folks would like to make? All right, that silence may be golden. So we may actually get out of here a little bit early today. I want to thank you, Carrie and Trina, for joining us today to at least start the dialogue, start the discussion with the business community in regard to the proposed stormwater utility. Thank you so much for inviting us to the table. We appreciate you making yourselves available for our questions and comments. And we hope that we'll be able to invite you back again for updates in the coming weeks and months, and we'll certainly keep our eye on this issue. Also, thank you for making the presentation slides available to us. I'll go ahead and send those out to everyone who participated in the call or who registered for the call, rather, once we conclude. And again, a recording will be available on the Reno Sparks Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel later today if you want to rewatch the presentation, absorb it a little bit further. And of course, both Trina and Carrie's contact information is included in that presentation as well, so you'll be able to be in touch. With that, I want to ask Carrie and Trina if you have any closing comments.
I just wanted to thank you, Christine, and the Reno Sparks Chamber for letting us host this here in this format and reaching out to our business community. Very much appreciated. Carrie?
Yeah, and thank you. I echo Trina's sentiments here. Also, just this is really a public input type of process. So if you need to follow up with questions, we've left our contact information, and we're endeavoring to make sure the City Council has a catalog of the comments that we've received during this process at the implementation consideration.
Thank you so much. And, as a community member and on behalf of the Reno Sparks Chamber, thank you for engaging us in dialogue. We really appreciate our voices being heard and appreciate this public input process. So with that, I think I'll go ahead and end the call now and invite everyone to have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.